I don't know, but the New York Steak Strip is apparently trying to be being renamed by
The Texans.
the
Are gonna
Texas
claim it?
people. Yeah,
Why? Is there a reason behind it?
we don't like northern people in Texas. If I had to guess. Welcome to another episode of The Unbroken Ground. This is another hangout session with Jim, and who knows what we'll talk about this time. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Back. Sabbatical over. Camp is going. I mean, we got groups this weekend, or a group this weekend. Yeah, so running around camp trying to make it ready and finding staff. Can I say it again? Finding staff. Anybody?
If you're
College
listening and you'd like to work at a camp,
It'll be the
Then,
best job you'll ever have.
there is a few positions that Jim has ready to apply for.
Yeah. Even not summer staff, like facilitators.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's kind of my mantra lately. If anybody says hi to me, I say hello. Do you know anybody that wants to be staff at camp? And then we have conversations from there. Yeah,
Okay.
got to go give an update up in Wisconsin this last weekend. Because my parents' church support us, and so every year we go up there, give them an update about us and our family at camp, etc. Yeah, I don't know what else. There's always
Well-
stuff happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do have to give us a breakdown. So, top three takeaways from going to Michigan. Tell us, again, kind of what you did in broad terms or really specific terms, I guess, if you want. But tell us about your mission trip. And then three takeaways, either something you did or something that you learned or something that you experienced or none of the above. And you just say the things you want to say.
Just say stuff
Mhm.
about the Dominican Republic. Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, Hannah, myself, Travis, who has been on this podcast before, and a few retired ladies came to the Dominican Republic with us, and we went to a ministry called Doulos Discovery School. It's a K through high school. It's a Christian school. There's about 80-ish, I think Lauren said, employees there. And so the employees range from they hire 18-year-olds all the way through, all the way up. And so, let's see, their U.S. base is in Minnesota. And that's kind of where, I don't know, whatever, the U.S. side of the ministry lands. And then, yeah, it was a great experience. They do a really great job at showing the short-term missions teams who they are as a school and kind of how they do education and why they do some of the things they do, which is very good because if you just kind of walk around and you see a room full of kids that are just jumping around and playing and spinning on little spinny things and balancing on things, and that's a whole class, you go, what the heck is happening? But they explain why that is, and the whole blending of physical activity and education and how that all goes together holistically in our brains. Anyway, they don't do that a lot. They just did that for, like, I don't know, they spent an hour or something telling us that and showing us the different ways they do that. And then you spend some time in some classes so that you can hang out and see kind of the kids and the parents, the teachers. So I got to hang out in high school classes. I got to hang out in like a 5th and 6th grade class. maybe 5th grade. And then we played in the kindergarten area, or the little kid area,
Yeah.
a lot. And then I helped some first graders with math. Anyway, and then we did service projects, and we painted, and we helped some guys build some stuff, and various other things. And then in our free time, we ate ice cream, and I had an octopus taco,
Okay.
which was awesome.
Okay.
And even though Jarabacoa is up in the mountains, it's still an island, so
Yeah.
it was kind of weird to have.
Was it like a baby octopus taco, like the whole little octopus, or was it just like rings?
No, it was just like you could barely tell it was. I mean, you wouldn't. If you're just gonna look at it, you would have been like, "Oh, this is a fish taco,"
Yeah.
because it just was chunks of octopus.
Right.
And so, not even rings or any of that. It was just,
Okay.
just chunks. So that was good. I didn't even order it. It was one of the ladies kept giving me food. Like the whole trip, I don't think I had to order anything because they just kept giving me the leftovers, which was awesome. Me and Travis kept getting them.
Yeah.
Too. And then, yeah, Jarabacoa. So, let's see. We spent a week there. Jarabacoa. So, let's see. I don't know where to start with Dominican Republic. So, if you don't know anything, I'll start like, if you don't know anything about the Dominican Republic,
Okay.
Dominican Republic and Haiti share an island.
Yeah.
So, Dominican Republic is one half, Haiti is the other half. Dominican Republic is very adamant about keeping Haiti on the Haiti side. So, Dominican Republic is much wealthier than Haiti.
Yeah.
They used to have the worst education system in the world, which is saying something because Haiti's right next door. But now they're a developing country, so they're not a third world country, they're a developing country, which basically just means they have an infrastructure and they have an education system, and it is working. So they're trying to get it better. They're not the bottom anymore, but
Yeah.
obviously if you're at the bottom in the last 10, 15 years, you're not at the top yet. So they're somewhere in the middle there now. So most of the big cities are along the coast, right? Because it's an island. That's where most of the tourists go, especially from America or whatever. And then Jarabacoa is right in the center of the island. So not super mountain. I mean, their highest mountain is like 10,000 feet. But their mountains are like straight up and down. So it's kind of like walking around. I mean, on a bigger scale, it's like walking around camp, because camp is very like abrupt with its hills.
Right.
They're not rolling hills at all.
Right.
They're
And valleys.
and so picture that on a much larger scale.
Mm.
And so Jarabacoa is right in the middle. Tends to be where a lot of the Dominican Republic people go to the vacation. It's kind of a wealthier city. What else can I say about Jarabacoa? It never really felt dangerous. Like in India, there were a few places that we were walking around that it just was like, there are a lot of like creepy people like just hanging out over there, and I don't like it. But
Yeah.
Jarabacoa was just like, everybody was doing their thing, and it was fine, and you didn't really like have gangs of people anywhere, and everybody seemed to be doing things. So it was nice. Pretty easy trip to go. Let's see, what else?
Three big
Three takeaways. Okay.
spiritual or otherwise all takeaways.
Yeah, biggest takeaway is 100% watching my daughter fall in love with Dominican Republic and the third graders, and just seeing God move in another culture. So that's 100%. that's the reason I take my kids on short-term missions in the past, and that's fulfilled. Got it done, because God is good and He wants to show us how He's moving all over the world. So, like, He wants to show us that. So, yeah, it was good. That's number one. Watching Hannah, just love, and it was awesome because everything was better. The traffic is crazy. We had people that in the van that couldn't handle the traffic, but my daughter was like, "Why can't we drive like this in the States?" And then motorcycles were everywhere, so she was jealous about that. And then everything tasted better, so it didn't matter what it was. My daughter was like, "This is so much better than the States." So it was fun to watch her fall in love with all of that stuff. Normal. I mean, that's kind of normal for your first mission trip. You fall in love with everything there. Or at least everything is kind of new and exciting. And then, so takeaway number 2 was a super fun debriefing activity Lauren did with fruit. It was awesome, and I'm going to steal it, and I don't know if I'm going to tell you any more about it. It was just awesome. I loved it. So if I can fit it in somehow, I don't know how to fit it in, but I will definitely be stealing that if I can figure out how to.
It would certainly take the right group and a lot of preparation.
It does take a little prep, but the big gist of it is it really does summarize the complexity of how to summarize a missions trip in your brain really well. I mean, like, because at the end of a missions trip, if you've ever been anywhere short term, you have these moments that you're like, oh, that was a good moment, and then you come back home and somebody asks you about something and you just say something, and then you kind of walk away from that conversation feeling like, yeah, but that wasn't really like the gist of it.
Right.
That's just what my brain was thinking because you asked me certain questions. And so, I don't know. What Lauren did just kind of wraps it up in a more complex way and being okay with that complexity. And so, it was good. And then, so that's 2.
Yeah.
I stole a team building thing. Surprise! Nice. Jim stole a team building thing.
I'm shocked.
Takeaway number 3. Still working on it, probably. Takeaway number 3. I'm left with the question of how long term do I want, or how consistent do I want a certain place in short-term missions in my life?
Yeah.
So, do I go back to that place? Do I try and find a new place? Because I've taken all my kids somewhere, so now I get to pick myself. Is it worth it? All those questions. So, third thing is just a bunch of questions. But, yeah, it was good.
Nice.
It was good.
Excellent. Well,
what have you? So you, sir, are getting closer to a diploma.
A third diploma.
And
yeah, I'm 7 weeks away. As of today is my last first day.
You're gonna start hanging those things in your living room, right? All your
Callie's got them in the office. So.
Well, I mean, now you gotta display them like a doctor.
I probably should take them to work.
Oh yeah.
Just hang them on my walls.
Just start.
No one else does, but I probably should. Just be like, I got that.
Doctors do it, so why not I?
Yeah. We'll see.
I mean, you got as many pieces of paper as some doctors.
I maybe have more. But let's not talk about that. Today is my last first day of getting my master's in data science. It's a mathematics degree, which is ironic because I have always had a love-hate relationship with mathematics. But it's quickly coming to an end. By the end of April, I will, for better or worse, have completed my courses. So, and then I don't know, lots of questions. So my takeaway of of what does all that mean is just lots of questions that I don't have answers to at all. So yeah, those are kind of the updates.
What's the most unexpected
hmm.
thing that you've learned doing it so far?
I had um, I think I had some different expectations as to what I would learn and what learning was going to be like, and so that has been kind of eye opening as far as what I thought. I really thought like I was going to be learning more, and we kind of talked about this when we were having dinner together, but I thought I was going to be learning almost more just exclusively programming language, and I have learned some, but a lot of it is more the concepts behind what to do with data and how to put that into chunks for people to understand and how you can understand it, and it's a lot more on the analyst side, which I really like, and so I'm happy for that. But it is, I think the most striking thing is how easy it is to manipulate data to make it say something that you want it to say. And if you don't know, like now I can't see things, like people talking about data now, I can't see things without being like, you know what, that's a great point, except for I need to know your source material. I need to know how you got like something like as simple as like what's the average salary of a teacher in Illinois. And if you gave me the average, I would be like, that's not helpful because the average is the easiest thing to be skewed by somebody either having a super low salary or a super high salary. So, if someone is say, let's say one teacher or administrator is making like 200,000, that's going to pull that average up towards that, even if the majority of the teachers aren't making that. But if you just put out like an average salary, it may say like, well, the average salary is $70,000, but you don't know like what that means because you don't know and that's what you'll see though. Like you'll see like in news articles and news in publications, like here's the average thing, and you're like, okay, well, average is actually super easy to skew. Meaning you can either have some high number or some low number that actually pulls it out. And so a better judge, wow, this is the nerdy side here, but a better judge is like median, or you give me a count. Okay, how many people make the highest level? Or give me the range.
Sure.
The range is the highest to low, and then a count like, all right, how many, you may have, like if you got one person that makes 200,000 and everybody else makes 20,000, well, the average is going to be somewhere in between those two numbers, but that's not a true reflection of what the average teacher makes in Illinois.
Sure.
And
yeah.
but people do that with data all the time, and how easy it is, especially in like media on the TV, you can change the x-axis by not starting it at 0, and news companies, I won't call them out for it. If you want to look it up, though, you can. You can.
Well, mass news media companies
where they don't start the x-axis at 0, and so if you just choose, you can choose a number to start at, and then you can create a false difference, because if you start at 0, the difference is maybe only be 1,000, but if you start at like 10,000, then the difference, even though it's not that it's the same difference, whether you start at 0 or 10,000, you can make it appear much bigger, and people don't do a good job with organizing data in their brains, and so they can't, like that, they don't formalize it well, and so that's the part that has been pretty interesting to see, is that people can be pretty shady with it, and I think that there's some people who innocently are trying to prove, trying to get the point of data across, but it's kind of like, to bring it back into like your realm of like experiential learning or leading, you could just tell people, hey, you need to be a better leader. You need to be more aware of other people around you. Or what you do, which is you say, let me give you this challenge, and then let's reflect on how you acted in this challenge, and then how do you think there's a sense in data that you're telling a story and you're helping people make the connections, and if you're overhanded with it, then maybe your data is not that good because people need to be fed it. But then the other side is if you're not clear, if you don't have clear data, then you risk people just not getting the point.
Sure.
And so there's a balance between there's an art of how do you put together presentations and data and what's the best ways to do that. And so that's been the thing that's been very interesting, but we don't do good with data at in our brains. Just looking at it, eyeballing stuff, our brains don't do very well with data. It's hard for us to look at a couple of numbers and kind of judge, oh, those numbers are this far apart. We don't have a great sense of that. And so data can help us highlight those differences, but it can also be used to incorrectly influence you.
Sure.
And
even if you know all that stuff, as soon as you see
yeah,
whatever number
mm-hmm.
of the Illinois school teacher,
right,
and that's already tainted your brain, right?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah. Well, if you you see it, but then you go, that's not a good data point.
Right.
But
what I'm saying is,
yeah,
I don't know if we might even say, well, that's just something the media told me.
Right.
But we still, in the back of our minds,
we
saw a number.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to grab onto that number as well, that's the average.
Right.
I see.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Or I mean, you could. So historically, I think it's been very, unfortunately, used to carry out all kinds of agendas. You could make the case that, people of a certain racial background are more likely to default on their loans, so we're not going to give them a loan. Depending on how you want to do your data. And so and then on top of that, so the famous thing that everybody knows, I think, because it gets pounded into people's heads, but is that correlation does not equal causation. So the famous example of that is, and I don't know if I can't remember if I talked about it on this podcast or not. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But the famous example is that in the summer. The increase in ice cream ice cream sales is correlated to as ice cream sales go up, so do the number of shark attacks. So I think
we have talked about that.
Yeah, so if you want,
yeah.
So it's a false equivalency to say that ice cream causes shark attacks. But there is a relation. They are correlated in the sense that as one increases, so does the other. In London, the number of umbrella sales, the more umbrellas you sell, the more car accidents there are. And so you could say selling umbrellas causes car accidents. Well, they're correlated. They do go up at the same time. The more umbrellas are being sold, the more car accidents there are. But what somebody who's a little bit more discerning, and these are easy ones to see. I mean, it's very nuanced, and I'm giving you the ones that are not nuanced, but
Sure.
It's easy to see. Well, if people are buying umbrellas, it's raining, and if it's raining, then you're probably going to have more car accidents.
Right.
And I think that the most, so I take it back. The most interesting thing that I think data has really taught me is that you actually can't ever say one thing. You can't ever definitively declare causation unless you have a closed system.
Sure. Because
there's always a margin of error where we can explain what we think of a percentage of we're pretty sure that this number, as this number goes up, so does this other number. It's not necessarily causation, but there's that correlation. And then the likelihood of that number going up if this other number doesn't go up can help to explain. But I mean, you're making so like with all this data, you got to make some logical assumptions, and then there's bias too, like
Sure.
that just exist, and so you can't ever just be fully like a real data scientist will never actually say this is 100% the cause of that. Like there is going to be some connectedness, there's going to be maybe some causation, but unless we know one for one this definitely causes this, the best we'll say is that there's a correlation, that they're related.
So all the people that have seen UFOs are all data scientists
Yes.
because they never say anything definitive.
Um,
And I know because not that I've listened to every single one of them, but it's entertaining to me. Well, I stopped because it got irritating because at a point you get to a point of just like, yeah. Because there's videos now and there's so much like evidence, in quotes, evidence that UFOs exist.
yeah.
And so you can watch a video and go, is that an alien? And they will not say a definitive.
Yeah. Well,
Which is funny.
it's the thing of like it's because it's so complex. Like even like I think we hate complexity so much of the time, but even like just like the economy, like one thing can drive it a little bit, but really there's this complexity of things that exist, and can you quantify the variables, and how do you know you're even correctly, like how do you measure certain variables? You can't, and so how do you then quantify that thing you can't measure? So you have to be very careful, but then you also have to make sure you're not in any way being biased, because we all struggle with that. And so if we come to a data set and we're convinced that the reason this is because of X, we're more likely to see something that may not be there because we want it to, or we assume that it was there, and so it's but people make decisions on this stuff all the time. Like, I mean, people, financial decisions, whether or not to loan people stuff, whether or not how much you should charge for insurance. Like, these are a lot of these things are built on these complex models of all these factors going in, and some business will use these to kind of determine their pricing and what will make them profitable. And and then on top of that, you then can overfit the model so that it is maybe like, so I did one of my school assignments was to work on a loan approval process, or who was going to default on a loan. And one of the things about machine learning, which is kind of this predictor, this software that can predict based on variables. So you give it a set of variables and it'll predict whether it's true that they will likely default on a loan, based on historically the same variables being proved to say, if this person, if they have this and this, then they default on a loan. So how close are these new variables that this new person am I giving you that has close to those variables? And you can train the computer to actually give you, because there's always going to be false positives where it, or false negatives where it's saying that like they will default on the loan, but they really wouldn't. But statistically, based on that, you're going to get that. So you can even train it to just give you more false positives, which is they really wouldn't default on the loan. But because you've built in a bias into the system, then you kind of cover yourself by saying, well, we're a little more conservative with this, and if you possibly could, we're going to get more results that are not true, but keep us from giving more results to the ones that are not true because they would default, that they got a false sense of that they got a false negative, which they wouldn't default. And so that can even just be built into the system. And so you can build such a situation. So we're talking about a loan again. you build such a system that if you're just going by the system, then it could very unfairly discriminate against certain types of people or certain people from certain lifestyles or certain like whatever things you feed into that, and like the person using the model may not even know. But because they may just be saying, I put the information in, it gives me a yes or no.
Sure.
And but the creator may have put a bias in there, a level of risk risk aversion
Sure.
that the end user may not even know. So
Sure.
that's a lot of nerdy stuff that you just
So are
obviously
you convinced that we're in a simulation now?
Callie told me not to take the red pill yesterday, so
Oh, okay.
I feel like yes.
All right.
Um,
All right. Does the red pill
the red pill keeps you out. The red
Does it-
pill takes you
does it-
out, I think.
does it keep coming up though in your life? You keep seeing opportunities to take the red pill?
We've kind of had these sinus things, and we've got this red sinus
Oh,
pill, and
okay.
so
Don't take the red
don't
one.
take the red pill. So I'm staying in the simulation apparently.
Oh, all right.
So, man,
Okay. Well, ignorance is bliss.
yeah,
As we've
Matrix.
heard before.
Did you ever watch? I'm gonna throw a '90s throwback here because we've got fans that are '90s
90s.
friends.
90s is the best decade.
Okay, so Callie and Jim were talking before we started the podcast, and they were talking about results of surgeries, and Callie said lower expectations. When I was in high school, Mad TV was in its big heyday.
Okay.
Did you watch Mad TV at all?
Mad TV, yes.
Okay, they had a dating service called Lowered Expectations, and it was like Lowered Expectations.
I do remember that.
And then it was just some ridiculous like
Right.
dating video that like you. So
I do remember that.
that's all I could think of. Mad
Okay.
TV.
Wow, Mad TV.
Yeah, that was one of the bits, and I
Was Mad TV its own thing, or was that part of In Living Color?
so it was his own thing. It was Fox's answer to, it was Fox's kind of alternative to Saturday Night Live. So Fox for a while
What
was
channel
like,
In Living Color on then?
and Living Color may
that
have been on
Fox?
Fox too, but it was,
Because it was also a Saturday Night Live style.
yeah, but did it come? Maybe it did come on Fox. Fox kind of had the risque shows there for a while.
That's true.
Which is crazy because they went super conservative on the news
Yeah,
end.
now they
So,
swung the
but
other direction.
but
I
they
guess.
were, I don't know. In Living Color, I think In Living Color was prior to Mad TV. Let me
Oh,
go.
it was
Let me
before Mad TV.
yeah.
Do a little phone.
I'm gonna
stuff.
search here.
It just Mad In Living Color was so much better than Saturday Night Live. Sorry, Saturday Night Live, but and all you teens that are like, "Ooh, Saturday Night Live," it's not.
Well, that's because everybody's Saturday Night Live was better. Your generation's Saturday Night Live was better than. It was also on Fox. And Living Color was also on Fox,
Okay.
but it was broadcast from 1990 to 1994. So I really caught the end of that. I mean, it doesn't mean I didn't get embedded in me several of the skits that they did.
That's true. I guess
10
10 might have been. I don't think my parents would have let me watch it. 10.
No, but 14 towards the end.
I bet I could catch
I
it.
mean, Fire Marshal Bill.
Yeah, Fire Marshal.
Let me
Bill,
show
I
you
know.
something. And Homie the Clown. Homie, don't play that.
Homie the Clown was awesome. See, In Living Color was so much better.
They had the Fly Girls. I actually think In Living Color came on by the time I was watching it. It would like come on in the afternoons, like Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon or
Oh, yeah.
something.
Okay. Yeah, and then I do remember Mad TV. How long was Mad TV on?
Let's see,
How many seasons?
1995 to 2016.
What?
So In Living Color was 90 to 94, and then Mad TV took over 95 to 2016.
2016?
Yeah. I mean, I stopped watching it like in 2000,
I
so
didn't realize it just kept going that long. That's really late. They kept that thing going for a while.
yeah.
My wife and I started watching Person of Interest, which
Okay.
is like a surveillance
Mm-hmm.
AI machine that watches the world, and it's hilarious. When did the let's see, so iPhones came out in 14. Yeah, so it's somewhere around 2014,
Okay.
2015. So it's just hilarious to some of the things that they're afraid of in the show, of like it's always watching you. Yeah, now we've invited it in. I mean, I don't. It's just funny to me. That's why I watch it, because it's fun to laugh at.
Man. Here's some people who were on Mad TV.
Mad TV. Okay.
So
Going back to Mad TV.
yeah, Michael McDonald. He was from '98 to 2009.
Michael McDonald. Michael
Uh,
McDonald.
He played Stuart. The kid.
Stuart.
He was like the
That was Mad TV.
yeah.
Okay, so that's why I think they're the same thing, because that and In Living Color.
He was the
and
kid
Fire
that
Marshal
was
Bill. Yeah,
yeah.
they all
So
blend
he
together.
played Stuart. So he was the kid
Stuart.
that was like monkey like that
Uh-huh.
kid leashed to the jungle gym.
Uh-huh.
And be like, let me want to see something, or like he would be like.
yeah.
He was like, "Watch this," and then like you kind of
He's
do a kick in
always
the
sucking
air.
on somebody's face. By the end,
Yeah.
he's always like,
Uh
yeah. I
huh.
got it. Okay.
Let's see.
So that was Mad TV. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I could separate them out in my brain then.
Will Sasso. He played several different
Mhm.
things. Frank Caliendo. He was there. That's where he got his start, doing his impressions, and then he kind of went on to be a little bit bigger.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, Keegan Michael Key and Jordan Peele got their start on Mad TV.
On Mad TV, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Man, there's like 1,000 people that were on. That
It's
were
amazing how talented those two guys are.
yeah,
I feel like they're everywhere.
yeah,
I mean, they're behind the scenes, but they're everywhere.
yeah. Yeah, there's so many people that are on Mad TV.
You know what's scary? I think Instagram gave me a reel of somebody redoing the school teacher name thing that Peel
Okay,
does.
okay.
You know, he made
Right,
it.
right. Uh huh.
I think everybody was copying it for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's now old enough that this person, because like this person was 100% copying it, but
Mhm.
not like in a funny way. Like, it just felt like, do you know that this has already been done? Like, do you understand that this has already been done like this? Because at least in satire, like, it's so evident, like they're kind of making fun of it. Like, you could kind of tell, like, yeah, we're acknowledging it happened before. We're gonna do it different.
Insubordinate and churlish. That's the line that I just love from that, because he gets mad and he goes, insubordinate and churlish. Hey, Aaron, you done messed up.
Aaron, you done messed up. Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, I feel like I have a little bit of sympathy for that, because just working in camp, and some of the names. I mean, just like
I get it.
just
And
crazy.
He pulled. I mean, this video was definitely inner city names.
Can you hear yourself, Timote? Present. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you beat that?
Yeah.
Somebody. I guess it's old enough that people just don't know it exists anymore. I guess.
Yeah. Seth Green was on there for 5 episodes. Angela Johnson. No, Angela Johnson Reyes. She's really funny. If you haven't, she does a skit.
I think that's where that's probably where I recognize her from.
She was on.
Because every time I see her on TV, I'm like, I know her from somewhere.
She was on Mad TV,
Long
but she
time
does
ago.
the Nell Lady skit, and it's one of. I mean, so I have like top 5. Callie has surgery on Wednesday, so I will break out the Brian Regan Say 8. And if you
Okay.
haven't watched Say 8, look up Brian Regan Say 8. It's clean, mostly, and it's just so funny.
Hilarious. All right.
Yeah, and you can relate to it because he's like, so I'm in the emergency room, and the nurse is like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad does it hurt? And he's like, well, I wanted to say 10, but I've heard that the breaking of the femur is the worst pain that a person can experience.
You know what's funny about this? And this his whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I broke my femur, and I felt full permission to be like 10. So anytime for the next 2 days that they asked me what my pain level was, 10.
So he couldn't say 10, and he
I
was
was
like,
chill in my bed, and I remember a nurse walking in and being like, "How's your pain?" I was like, 10.
10.
Like, what? You're just chilling here. What
Yeah.
are you doing?
So he's like, well, I don't know what I was afraid of, that there's somewhere like a ward with people who broke their femurs who would come down and be, what the heck is, who said 10?
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you 10, buddy.
Yeah.
So he says 8, and they give him morphine, and so he's walking around doing that, and he's like, say 8.
Yeah,
He's like,
just say 8.
say 8. Like,
Just,
did you get some 8?
yeah, just say.
I'm ready for some more 8.
Yeah, just say high number.
Yeah.
Unless morphine, some people have a negative reaction to morphine. So
Well, yeah. So you got to look at that. Brian Regan, Say 8,
Okay, that's a
Emergency
good one.
Room.
yeah.
That's a killer one.
It is a
Angela
good one.
Johnson, the Nail Lady, where she
where she's doing her nails.
Yeah,
yeah.
like-
That one's funny.
she's
That
like,
one's hilarious.
you're pretty, like supermodel. How come you
Yeah.
have no boyfriend?
Yeah.
It is. She's also very funny. Nate Bargatze, obviously. Although I'm starting to like feel really sad about being a Nate Bargatze fan, mostly because he's coming to Peoria and the tickets are like $100 to $200 a seat.
Yeah, they're crazy.
I can't afford that.
Yeah. At the
I-
Civic Center?
Yeah, at the
I
Civic
think
Center.
last time he was in Peoria, I looked it up and it was like $200.
It wasn't. Callie and I saw.
Maybe all the seats were sold or something.
Yeah, that one probably that one sold. That was a much. Well, Callie and I saw him in Springfield, and I think we paid $40 or $50 per
Sure.
seat, which is the max that I'll pay. So,
Yeah.
I'll check you out your special on Netflix later.
Right.
So, but anything by Ragazzi, he's kills too. So, but Brand Regan Say 8 from my friend, the person who has broken their femur. You
Mhm.
can.
Yeah.
You-
That one is funny. And I validate that. Yep. Just say a high number. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I just these are the things that stick in your head. Mad TV, Lower Expectations. They had that song on there, and they had this video clip where it's like this kind of disheveled man and this woman, and they're like kind of walking towards the beach, but there's this barbed wire fence in front of it, and the guy like goes to grab the fence and like he jerks his hand back because he hit a barbed wire or something and that is stuck in my brain. Like I can still see that today. And
All right.
as the song lowered expectations, he's like, ah, and that was just like kind of the like. It's genius, like how well, like there was just like some writer sitting around going, then this happens, and and like how hilarious, just laughing.
Sure.
The other comic bit you've got to watch. I can't say that this is clean for the fullest amount, but Hiking with Kevin Nealon, and he takes Conan O'Brien, and Kevin Nealon and Conan O'Brien have known each other for so many years. They knew each other on Saturday Night Live together.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're really good friends. And Kevin Nealon is he's the worst interview to go. Like he will just ask Conan O'Brien questions, and Conan will start to like try to answer it, and Kevin Nealon will be like, "All right, let's move on." And it infuriates Conan because he's like, I know how to interview people. Like, this is what I do for a living, and he's like, yeah, but you're boring. Like, it's just so.
That's funny.
Check out Hiking with Kevin Nealon. He interviews a lot of good celebrities. They're not all clean, but the Conan O'Brien ones are particularly funny because I love Conan O'Brien, and because he just takes the piss out of him, like the whole, like for the whole interview, he'll ask something like, and Conan's like, oh, that's deep, maybe I'm gonna, and then Kevin Nealon would just be like, all right, moving on, like it's and Conan's like, can you let me answer a question? Can I just answer a question?
Right.
And Kevin's like, I'm trying to get you to answer a question, but you're boring things, like you gotta keep moving.
You gotta keep going. That's funny. All right.
So highly recommend those.
I dig it.
All right, let's do seasonal information.
I'm a car guy, so I like watching like Leno's Garage.
Okay.
Because in Leno, he had one where he did like drives with people. I don't remember what it was called. And then Seinfeld also did
coffee and cars with comedians.
Coffee and cars with comedians.
Yeah. That was a car thing. I watched those. I mean,
it was kind of a car thing. I mean, you got to see a car, but it was more of an interview.
At the beginning, it was like, here's this car, and if you're a car person, I guess that would have. I was just like,
and they kind of talk about the car, but then they get to a coffee shop, and it becomes more of a hangout time.
Right.
So I like those sometimes.
Yeah.
Obviously,
agreed.
I don't watch them in order or religiously. It's just whatever, you gotta find the people you like or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seasonal news.
Okay.
Did you give up anything for Lent this year, or are you doing anything for Lent this year?
I guess the answer would be no, because Lent is already going. I didn't really change my life.
Yeah.
I had thought about a prayer jar or something. That'll happen.
Yeah. May not be Lent.
It's just not Lent, apparently.
Yeah. Okay. I gave up social media, so on my phone.
All social media?
All social media on my phone.
Okay.
So, which wasn't a lot, to be honest. I didn't have a ton on my phone, but
sure.
Took off Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads. I took YouTube off, even though I don't really consider that. Part of the thing was like, so the spiritual impact, or what I'm hoping for to starve myself of, is kind of this tendency to pick up my phone and scroll, whether it be Instagram Reels or Threads or stories on Blue Sky or whatever, just read stuff and just get lost in that. Anytime I'm bored.
Sure.
Or anytime I'm like, oh, I need some stimulation. And so now the hope is that I will replace that with, I've got actual real books I'm reading, or prayer, or reading the Bible. And so that's kind of the idea. It's not just, although giving up social media has also made me less aware of the outrage that people have right now, or the outrage at the outrage. I mean, we'll see. I'll give you both sides.
I'll give you a clue. It doesn't really matter. There's not really
No, but I don't have to. But I do find that if I subject myself to it, I tend to then wrap myself into it of being like, that is outrageous. I should have emotional, responses to this, even though it really is just a pause in my life, and then I move on. Like it's
Sure.
not like I'm so outraged I'm gonna go change things. It's
I
like,
got you.
I find this ridiculous, and so I have found that better use of my time is to not do that. Not that people who are, fighting for causes and for change, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it wasn't really wasn't really feeding that in me. It was more just feeding that endorphins. Is that what that
Sure.
is? That hit
Yeah.
of like that serotonin of like, yeah, I don't like this either. Just like you people, I do belong with you, whether I really do or not.
Sure.
Just like
Yeah.
that fake community that social media can create, and that
Right.
fake, like, we're all against this thing, and it's like, actually it's more nuanced than that. And so
Right.
I have found that to be much more peaceful in my life.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that's been my so far my Lent. I discovered very much at work that my team very no one else but me was practicing in Lent, which is not a surprise. Conservative Christian organization,
Sure.
in a very Catholic, that Lent can be a very Catholic enterprise, although
Yeah.
it's Catholic, Episcopalian, Methodist a lot of times.
Lutheran.
It's Lutherans. It snuck into Baptist and the seminary I was in, which probably tells you about my seminary. But just as a
Really? Well, because it was a college. College is like,
university
kind of like
professors but there were churches that then were participating in Ash Wednesday even. Like,
Oh, really?
So Baptist churches doing
Okay.
the whole Ashes thing. So, but I mean, I've never done the Ash Wednesday.
In
with,
my
like,
adult Sunday school,
Yeah.
I remember years ago, I said something about Lent. I said something like, "Well, Lent started this week,"
yeah,
and in my adult Sunday school, somebody was like, "What's Lent?"
yeah.
I was like, "I don't." It was baffling to me that an adult had no idea what Lent was.
I mean, growing up, I didn't. I mean, and I wouldn't. It was not part of my religious practice until.
Well, it's never been my part of
Yeah.
my religious practice. I mean, I grew up evangelical, and I guess it started Baptist and then evangelical, and now I'm just a non-denominational Bible church is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I guess it wasn't like, oh my gosh, how could you never hear? Because people don't hear about a lot of things, but
Yeah.
it was just kind of surprising to me that, because it wasn't like a young person,
Right.
and it wasn't like an unchurched person.
Yeah.
It was a person that I was surprised.
Sure.
Either that or they were just setting me up. Of like, I want you to talk about Lent, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna say, what is
Yeah.
Lent? Like, I guess they could have been doing that, but it didn't really seem like they were. But anyway,
Yeah, I think for me, what it became, what it has become, what it will always be, is a way to connect both the spiritualness of, in the spiritual world in a physical way. So I'm physically not looking at social media, but it's for a spiritual reason. And I think a long time ago, like I think when we first met, one of the first conversations we had was about, oh, you're going to do Lent? Because I think at that time I was, I was just coming out of seminary, so I was probably practicing and being like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And at that time, I think it was like, I'm not going to eat meat. I think I did that I don't know if I did that at camp one year or not, but I did that one year. And it was like,
yeah,
okay.
you started something the day of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That was fried food, though.
Yeah,
We
it was
had
like fried food.
Nothing
Yeah.
but fried food, and it was
It was a bad decision.
so fun.
Well, this year I did Whole30 starting in February.
Oh, yeah.
So also a bad decision. I mean, it's a good decision for my health, but
Right.
bad decision in like as far as like what's gonna happen
Timing.
at Super
Yeah,
Bowl
yeah,
parties.
Super Bowl parties.
So I don't know if
Did
it
you go to a
was,
Super Bowl party though?
no, because I was not gonna.
Oh, you didn't
I was
even
not-
go.
I was not gonna subject
Oh
myself
yeah, you can't.
to like
Yeah.
delicious foods that I can't eat. I don't need that temptation in my life. I
My wife
stayed
and I were
home.
planning on being in the car, but anyway, we just
Yeah.
didn't do anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we talked about this last month, but I mean, I saw two commercials. I saw the pickleball one with the old people hustling to get beer, which
Oh yeah, the beer pickleball one. Yeah, and
which-
then the seal one we talked
and
about.
seal, yeah.
yeah.
which I still don't get the beer. Like, look, if they're that old, they could just buy their own beer. Like why are they hustling beer from people? Like, I don't.
Because you gotta do something.
Just use your retirement and buy a beer. No, we'll play you in pickleball.
They retired like I'm gonna retire. They retired with zero
I don't
money.
think they did. I think
Zero
they're
extra money.
I think they have quite a bit of money. Those actors do. I'm assuming. Obviously, I don't know their real financial health, but I would assume they were getting paid quite a penny. They probably could have bought a bunch of beer just from being in that commercial.
Probably.
So that's my Lent update.
Okay.
We have upcoming.
No social media for Paul. So what we have to do, everyone who's listening.
Well, no social media on my phone. So
Okay.
because I do things like this, and because I have to kind of promote some of my projects for school, I'm still on my laptop computer at the house. I will jump on, and
I see.
so you can still. So I'll still post stuff,
No.
but it just won't be
Well,
from
that
my
makes
phone.
it way less fun. But
Yeah, you
I
can
was
still
gonna
do the
say
things.
we should tag Paul in as many things as possible
I
in
would
whatever
appreciate that.
social media you got.
I would like it all.
Because then when he gets back to his phone is just gonna have like
Yeah.
a million updates.
I haven't been on Facebook. I mean, I have been on Facebook. I haven't been on Instagram, Threads, or Blue Sky. So you can tag me there, and I will not get it until.
Yeah, because I don't really do Facebook anymore, but I do hang out on Instagram a lot.
Facebook is still where a lot of my paintball friends are, and so I keep up with a lot of them through that. So
Facebook started making me feel old, so I gave it up.
You are old, man. I
don't want to embrace it though.
Okay. Other seasonal news. So I just want to say, and I want some props for this. The most work I've done for this podcast was today. In the past 6 months, this is the most work I've done. I researched this topic because Jim wanted to talk about St. Patrick's Day, and we will, probably.
Maybe if we get around.
If we get to that. But I looked up, relation, I found 15 things you probably didn't know about leprechauns. And I read through them.
Okay.
And I'd like to get your reaction to
All right.
them.
15 things about
Leprechauns.
leprechauns. Those real guys that live at the end of the rainbow? Yes?
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah. There's facts about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So let's.
That's the
Can
general.
I give you what I know, and
Yeah.
then we'll go over those 15 and see how they met
Yes.
together a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe? Or is there a different format?
No. You go. You tell me what you think you know.
All right. So, first thing I know about leprechauns is they're scary, and they had a horror movie because they ate people or something. I didn't see the movie, but he definitely was not a nice leprechaun.
That was a fun fact. That was the movie Jennifer Aniston was in before she made it big on Friends. Was Leprechaun.
Okay. So I do remember that coming out. I do remember being afraid of that movie.
It's a little bit like Chucky,
Yeah,
I think.
because it was kind of like a Chucky kind of
yeah.
thing. He just kind of came out of the dark and ate people
Yeah.
or something.
Somehow you couldn't overpower the tiny little thing.
Yeah.
That.
Well, he was a scary looking troll thing. I mean,
Yeah.
like whatever. Other things that I know about leprechauns is they're protecting a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
'Kay.
Right?
Okay.
Other things about leprechauns would be talking about Irish, right? Right?
Sure.
Ireland, Scotland,
Yeah.
somewhere in
Ireland.
there. One of those islands out there. We are. What else? Lucky Charms is a leprechaun guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Lucky
yeah.
Charms is a leprechaun guy.
They're always. Well, it's not. He's lucky. Isn't he lucky? Is he lucky?
Yeah, Lucky.
But he's not Lucky Charms. They're always after. They're always
They're
after.
always
me.
me, Lucky Charms.
They're always after me, Lucky
yeah,
Charms.
because he's at
But
the end
is
of
he
the
Lucky?
rainbow.
Lucky the leprechaun? Lucky the.
I think his name is. He might be. His name is Lucky. I don't know his name,
Okay.
but I do know that I remember when they started putting rainbows as one of the marshmallows.
Oh, yeah,
It
that's
used
true.
to be just charms
That's
as
true.
marshmallows,
Yeah,
and then they added the rainbow,
yeah.
and that was the first like multicolored one.
And then they did red balloons,
And now, yeah, then they had red balloons,
like balloon, like the ones like what do you call those?
like a hot air balloon.
Hot air balloons.
Because he
Yeah.
escaped in the hot air balloon
Yeah,
somehow.
so that was
a
added in
big
there.
commercial
Yeah.
thing. I
Yeah.
remember those commercials. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let's see. Any other lucky or leprechaun facts that I know? That's about it.
Okay.
I think that's what I know about
All right.
leprechauns.
Well, prepare
All right.
to be amazed.
Okay. I don't even think that was 15 things. I
No.
didn't even know 15
You
things.
fall you fell way short of the list. This is from a website called Mental Floss.
All right.
It is
that's I've
yeah.
heard.
It's put together by the staff
Okay.
there. No one is claiming credit, just staff.
Just all of them.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's presenting these as facts. I am not presenting them as facts as much as I'm reading them as facts. I'm not saying I believe them. I'm just saying they present them as facts.
I mean, you can present that
'Kay.
false disclaimer if
Yep.
you want, but we all know that you believe in leprechauns.
Okay, here we go. Number one. True or false? It's not really true or false. This is what they believe, I guess. Or this is what is legendary about them. Leprechauns are fairies.
Oh, all right.
Although they might not match your initial idea of what a fairy is, leprechauns are considered a part of the family. Like other fairies, they're small in size and prone to mischief. The miniature men are said to be descendants of, I'm going to butcher this, but Tuatha de Danann, a group of magical beings that served under the Gaelic goddess Danu. According to legend, the mythical group lived in Ireland long before humans inhabited the land. So they're fairies.
Huh. I bet Jared would have known that one.
Probably. I think
Jared Smith, we're calling you out here.
you should know these things.
You should listen to this podcast and let us know. See if you can predict the next 14.
There you go. I think it's interesting that like how real fairies were to people. Like I don't think we really. I mean, we have people now that believe in UFOs and Bigfoot and like things that
Okay.
but
Sure.
but to really like if I wake up tomorrow and my car doesn't start, I usually don't go, those dang fairies got me again. But that would have been a kind of a common thing, if you're going down the road and your wagon wheel falls off, you're like,
The
fairies got me. Like it would be like this very much this thing that you blamed on like these but you also have to
Would it really have been, or would those people just be that portion of the population? I mean, the Bigfoot believers or the UFO believers.
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't actually know the percentage. I'm making a general assumption here that they would have been, that they would have believed in some kind of spirits. Majority, I would say.
True, but I mean, I guess I would just argue that even though, as we go back in history, we did accredit it more to the spiritual realm enacting their will on the physical. But I still think that things like fairies or whatever would still be in the minority. Like the people that were like,
I think it depends on what we're talking about.
hmm,
Because I think
okay.
that there are definitely, I would say there are definitely times in history where they would have, if they wouldn't call them fairies, I mean, they would have called them gods or spirits or. Because I think even like if you go back to like Paul's time, right? Like he's in Rome and or going and he takes this whole like they were so spiritual that they were like and this here altar is to the God that we don't actually know.
Sure.
Like there's got to be a God that we don't know about, but
Right.
we're gonna worship you because we don't want to anger you.
Yeah, but I think that, yeah, I guess I get what you're saying. I just think there's a little bit of a difference between accrediting that stuff that's like as a finger of a god
Yeah.
versus like actually believing that there's little fairies around.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I would have to do more research into like what people believe because I mean
Maybe I'll start believing in fairies. That sounds fun.
there's probably people that do. Yeah, I mean you wouldn't be alone.
Yeah, I'm sure I could find their community.
I would wonder.
I mean, people want to
like
be cats, so what the heck?
a pre-modern society. How like if you were to, I mean, so like I think you have to remember. So if we're talking like in between, so if we're talking in between the Dark Ages and modern society.
Right.
So the Dark Ages happen, and so in the Dark Ages you have people who can't read,
Mm-hmm.
who don't go to school, who don't like all they have is kind of the traditions that their families passed down. In that scenario, I could definitely see when you have things happen to you that don't have an explanation. I 100% could see where people would be like, "Oh, it's because you didn't give an offering to a fairy, and so the fairy is causing mischief in your life."
Okay.
I 100% could see that as being like how do we figure out like how the world works, and I think this human sense of us is to be like there must be some kind of force. I mean, we even say it today. Like I mean, there's like I think the world's against me. Like, and I know that necessarily we're not then putting it in there, but I think that like there is that like there's this weird part of us that wants to connect everything to something. And everything happens for a reason, and everything has an explanation, and sometimes it's because the leprechauns are playing tricks on you.
Okay. I mean, I'll give it to. I don't. Okay.
I don't like. It's obviously something that we're so far. Like, I mean, if you had to like push me on whether I believed in ghosts, I would be like, I believe in the ghosts that are said to have happened in the Bible, but do I believe that ghosts, like,
Sure.
am I gonna go with the ghost hunters and stare at the little screen and be like, oh, they're talking, it's talking to me.
Oh, that I don't know if I could do that. That might freak me out too much. I think it'd be fun to be with them,
Yeah,
but I don't know if I could walk around a creepy building.
maybe you'd find a leprechaun.
One of two reasons: either I'm going to be laughing the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
or it's just I'm not a horror guy. Like I get too freaked out at that stuff.
That's true. You're not a horror guy. One of my favorite memories of escape rooms was our very first escape room when we weren't supposed to talk, and you were doing that puzzle next to the door, and the staff came and banged on the door, and you were like,
yeah, the whole time. I knew that was coming.
Mm-hmm.
I knew. I mean, in a horror room,
it's gonna be a
if you
jump
have
scare.
a puzzle that you have to stand next to for minutes, like at least minutes,
Yeah,
plural. Somebody's banging on that door.
yeah.
I knew it was coming. I still hated it. It still was like,
All right, number 2 is sad. There aren't any female leprechauns.
okay.
As a way of explaining why there is no record of female leprechauns and therefore no way to procreate in the traditional sense, some sources claim leprechauns are the unwanted children of the fairy community. Well, as a result, leprechauns are described as grouchy, untrusting, and solitary creatures. That's sad. And
What, do they just duplicate themselves? Like cut off?
no, they're the children that are the unwanted children. So they're fairy children who get kicked out. Just the guys, just the boys.
Okay.
So that's one theory.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a leprechaun colony in Portland, Oregon.
That's why that guy was eating everybody.
Right. Yeah. Like
Just
he's
unwanted.
he's
leprechaun
lucky.
kid.
Lucky the Lucky Charms guy is happy go lucky, but
At least he's like
leprechauns are really angry. Actually,
yeah.
Um,
He's dealing with it with. He's lucky. The leprechaun is probably super passive aggressive.
in 19. So there's a guy who saw a light hole in the ground where a light pole was supposed to go, and I guess the light pole didn't go there, so he made it into a leprechaun park. It's the world's smallest park, and people will add things to it, including added miniature additions like a swimming pool complete with a diving board. And somewhere in Portland, Oregon, is this.
What?
Somewhere in Portland, Oregon, there's this.
There's a light pole.
That was
hole.
like, yeah, where the light pole was gonna be, but
So a foot wide
Mm-hmm.
by 3 feet deep.
And this guy, this
Hole.
journalist, like made it into a leprechaun colony by putting stuff to make it look like leprechauns live there, and then wrote articles about it in his newspaper, and people embraced it, and it became officially the city park, unofficial city park on St. Patrick's Day in 1976.
Of course it did. Way to go, Portland.
Yep,
Way to be Portland.
in 1976 even. Leprechaun means small body. Leprechaun is believed to be a variation of the Middle Irish word lucapron, lu meaning small, and corp means body.
Okay.
Lucorp. All right.
Okay.
Do not.
Little body guy.
Sometimes.
Maybe that's why that guy
Sometimes.
was angry too. We just keep finding a reason why the horror show is probably the most accurate depiction of the leprechaun.
Sometimes leprechauns are red.
Whoa. When they get really angry?
Although the little Irishmen are now synonymous with the color green, they weren't always. Early accounts of leprechauns describe them as wearing red and sporting a variety of hats, often three-cornered hats.
Red. Huh.
Red.
3-cornered hats?
Yeah.
Like a
tricorn,
okay.
I guess.
Which way would point forward or point backward?
Probably, I don't know. Are we talking like up 3 corners or like flat 3 corners?
Oh. Where else would the 3 corners be?
Well, if you had,
Would you?
I don't know.
I'm thinking like a pyramid. Somebody's wearing a pyramid on their head. That's what I'm thinking.
That's not what I was thinking of, because I was thinking of like the more like flat thing that kind of had like a point here and then 2 points out to the side.
Oh,
so
like a
point-
chopped off pyramid.
Yeah. That's been a fashion thing before.
Okay.
Like
I
when
mean,
you when you graduate.
Either way, would you? So the point goes out to the forward?
Yeah, I suppose.
Maybe because they want to be real fast. They need that.
Those are not the
aerodynamic.
type of hats I'm used to them wearing,
Okay.
because that's not what Lucky wears. Lucky
No,
Lucky
he-
Charms is really
he
my
wears-
only.
He wears like a top hat. Doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
He? Yeah. No, they wear like this elf hat, don't they?
I don't think so.
Like a Robin Hood kind of.
Oh, that would be the 3-pointed hat, the Robin Hood hat.
The Robin
That's
Hood
a tricorn.
three-pointed hat. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Yeah, it's because it's
That's, if
it's
I
like a-
picture a leprechaun in my head, I think
of the Robin Hood hat.
think of that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Leprechauns have a troublesome cousin called the Clurichaun.
Oh
The
boy.
Clurichaun.
Okay.
Um,
Clurichaun.
It shares many characteristics with the leprechaun. They're always described as drunk and surly. They are insubordinate and churlish.
Huh. Okay.
I will,
Okay.
I will get Oshag Hennessy.
You.
They are often seen in stories riding animals at night or clearing out entire wine cellars. Some accounts explain these troublemakers as the night form of leprechauns. After a hard day's work, the bearded fairies get so tipsy they become an entirely different species. Others describe them as a close relative to the leprechaun. So, Mr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde kind of thing.
Okay.
Or is it Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Yeah, it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah,
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Number 7, and this goes back to, this is where you're a little bit possibly right on this. So, leprechauns are the bankers and the cobblers of the fairy world.
Oh. Bankers and cobblers. How do those two go together?
Well, they're known for their money, and there's apparently a lot of it in the cobbling business. Since they spend most of their time alone, the tiny green men pour all their energy into crafting shoes. So here's...
How is there a lot of money in the cobbling business?
Look. Leprechauns are medieval times Nike.
Oh. Okay. I feel you.
So...
Garden their treasure, the end of the rainbow.
They have shoes that are worth lots of money.
Yeah,
they're basically Nike, but from medieval times.
Okay.
So
medieval Nike.
They're always
most of the high schoolers
would be like leprechaun shoes.
Would be wearing leprechauns.
Yeah.
For track.
Yes.
Okay.
And ironically, even if they didn't play sports, they would still wear them.
And yeah.
Because that's the cool thing.
Or they change out of their leprechauns to their other leprechauns.
Right. Because you couldn't wear those leprechauns outside.
Because those leprechauns can't go outside.
Yeah. They're said to always have a hammer and shoe in hand. According to legend, you can hear them coming by the telltale tapping sound they make, which freaks me out more than anything else I've read so far.
You can always hear them coming?
By the telltale tapping.
Okay. Are they...
There's one now.
Huh.
Apparently
they travel and work all at the same time.
Apparently they're manically obsessed with finishing their shoes.
They need to get those shoes done. Yeah. They can't even slow down.
Yeah.
Talk about the need for parent approval.
The other stories attribute the leprechaun's wealth to the fine shoes they make, but others say they protect the treasure of the entire fairy world. One tale says leprechauns act like bankers to make sure the frivolous fairies don't spend all their gems at once.
Oh.
So that also...
No. Wait, so the fairies reject them, and then they get older, and they go, you can't have your money.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like, the fairies are like, look, we need somebody that'll say no to us. And they're like, oh, hey, you remember those kids that we were like,
how about the fairies orphaned? We don't want. How about those guys?
They tell us no all the time.
They just tell us no.
Good news, guys. You're bankers. Here's all our gold. Yeah. When we ask for it, don't give it to us.
Yeah, just tell us what we need to do with it.
Yeah. Okay. Leprechauns, number 8. Leprechauns are sneaky.
Well, you have to if little fairies are always trying to get your gold.
There's a tale where if you catch one, you can't take your eyes off of it, because if you do, it shall disappear. So you have to always be watching it until it takes you to the gold.
Oh,
and if you take your eyes off of it, poof, it's gone.
Okay. Was Rumpelstiltskin a leprechaun?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I can't definitively say that he was not.
He just had the skill of making gold things. Right? Because it wasn't that Rumpelstiltskin? He could thread gold or whatever?
I thought Rumpelstiltskin, was he... I thought he was... Oh, no, that was Van Winkle. Rip Van Winkle slept for long time. Rumpelstiltskin...
I think just
I
about
think-
everything he touched turned to gold, or
Yeah.
he could weave gold, or something like that.
Yeah, he might have been.
Okay, well, whatever. He
But-
wasn't a baker, so
Yeah. But leprechauns can be generous if you're kind to them.
oh, okay,
Um,
that's nice. That's nice of them to be generous. Just goes to show, be kind to everyone.
One legend mentions a man down on his luck nobleman who offered a leprechaun a ride on his horse. In return, the man returned to his crumbling castle to find it filled to the ceiling with gold. That's nice. Here is where we're getting into your Bigfoot people.
Oh, okay.
Someone claims to have found the remains of an actual leprechaun.
Oh, nice.
In 1989, a local businessman in Carlingford, Ireland, claimed to have found evidence of a real leprechaun on a mountain called the Slieve Foy. He said, and I probably said that wrong, so sorry. If anybody in Ireland is listening to this, I butchered all of those words, and I apologize for that. But I really doubt that there's anybody in Ireland that listens. But I am just, as a disclaimer, I apologize. He said that after hearing a scream near the wishing well, he found bones, a tiny suit, and gold coins near scorched earth.
Whoa.
The evidence is now displayed behind a glass case for visitors to come and see.
Huh.
As a result, a new tradition was born. During the annual leprechaun hunt, 100 ceramic leprechauns are hidden on the mountain, and tourists come every year to try and hunt down the little green statues. Hunters need to buy a €6, €6? I don't know. Hunter's license before. In 2019, the 30th anniversary of the leprechaun bones discovery and the 10th anniversary of the official European Union recognition, fortune seekers abandoned their mountain search and instead scoured the town for hidden leprechaun pots, one of which contained a real bar of gold valued at €1,200.
Whoa. Okay.
Your leprechauns are protected under European law.
Okay.
There are
What does that mean?
Well-
You can't kill one?
apparently there are 236 leprechauns that still live in the caverns of the Slieve Foy. In 2009, the UA granted heritage status to the remaining Wee people. They now have their own protected sanctuary nestled in the mountains. The directive also protects the animals and the flora in the area to keep the biodiversity of their land safe. So
What?
yeah, they have a mountain.
How do they know how many are left?
I think that's a fact. I think that's a fabricated number.
They just made up a number? Or
Sounded good.
sounds
One was
like-
not enough. 236
sounds
was
like
just
something
right.
Like, it sounds like somebody got into politics, maybe similar to a president of ours that we had once or twice, and just said stuff, and people were like, "Yeah, let's just do that."
Let me ask you. Think of a number. And if there was a number of these things in a, let's say, an area like Great Oaks Camp,
Okay.
what's the largest number that you could have that you wouldn't notice, that you would be unlikely to see them, though they're there on Great Oaks Camp? What would you think? They're small. What's the largest number that you could have on the camp, and you would just never see one because
Yeah, but how small are they? So, are we talking fairy size, or are we talking
Yeah.
like what a normal
let's say that there was a leprechaun colony at
a
Great Oaks.
leprechaun colony?
How many leprechauns would you think would be too many? So, if you let's just say that if there
Are
were
they
1,000,
child size, or are they
No,
little
no,
tiny
I
on your
think,
shoulder fairy size?
little tiny fairy size.
Oh,
I'm imagining them to be that way.
okay. Well, we have
but-
a little cave that they could live in.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. But how many? Because if there were 10,000 leprechauns that lived in the space of Great Oaks,
Sure.
you would be like, no, there can't be because I would see one.
Right.
So, what's the largest number you would agree to lived on the land, but you just don't see them because there's not enough of them?
Well, I like to walk in the woods.
Yep.
I
Yep.
am a camp guy,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
like the fact that my 100 Acre Woods is free from things.
Yeah.
So I would actually argue there would not be any more than 2.
Okay.
Because I walk the woods too much. Like, I am just in the woods too much. If there's more than 2, I would either notice things that they would be doing, or...
Well, they're magical.
I don't know what that means. So?
Well, if they don't want you to see them, then you don't see them. I mean... Like,
Well,
but...
then 10,000 of them then. I don't...
If there were 10,000 of them, obviously one of them would slip up and be seen. Like, that's not a realistic number, Jim.
All right.
236 feels like a subtle number where somebody had this conversation and we're like, that's enough that they exist, but we wouldn't have to see them.
We're going to confine them to the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's
all right.
Somebody sat down and said, what sounds like a good number?
Yeah, I guess if they can disappear and stuff, then the
well,
number
if you don't
goes
look
up.
at them, they disappear.
Yeah. Well,
so they're magical. They got some stuff going on for them. That's my guess. Is that they were just like, 236 sounds just about right for things that could exist, but we wouldn't ever notice because there's not enough for us to see them.
I mean, it sounds kind of high, but on a mountain, sure, I guess.
And I don't know how big I don't know how big that is.
Yeah.
Or how big they are.
Right.
I mean, think how often. Well, I mean, there were woodchucks, or not woodchucks.
I mean, Lucky
ground-
was bigger than the kids, wasn't he? Or at least as big as the kids.
Yeah.
And that Leprechaun horror movie, man, that guy, I mean, he was little, but he wasn't, like, tiny little.
But there were groundhogs. There's a groundhog, right, that lives at camp or lives around camp. Some groundhogs at camp.
I haven't seen a groundhog after camp in a while.
I mean, I think I saw one time.
Yeah, maybe once.
So I would say that, like, with groundhogs, like, or even like, Tom Dell, he saw the wolf with the red eyes.
Okay. Okay.
No one else saw that.
Mm-hmm.
How many wolves with red eyes?
I mean, I'll give you that, because I don't think I've ever actually seen a coyote.
Yeah, and that's actually what I would go with. Like, I know there's coyotes because I can hear them. So we hear them at night.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they eat things.
Right.
Things disappear. But I know that they're coyotes. But if I didn't know they were coyotes and I was hearing this weird noise at night and things would disappear, like, I could see that being like, yeah, we have fairies, and like, these woods are haunted. There's fairies. They make noises at night, and then they come and steal our chickens.
Mm-hmm.
And
the difference is coyotes leave footprints.
Well, I'm not saying the leprechauns don't have footprints.
Well, I've never seen a leprechaun footprint.
Well, I didn't say leprechauns don't live at camp. I'm just saying.
Right. I'm just.
And maybe they
Yet
do.
another reason why it's 2.
Maybe they do leave footprints, and you just don't know what a leprechaun footprint looks like.
True. I mean, that could be very true, but arguably, especially this season at camp, anything moving around camp is going to leave some kind of footprint.
But it could just leave a depression in the ground. Like, I mean, like, there's a random.
They got little peggy legs.
Yeah.
It looks like little.
Like, they've cobbled their shoes together.
That's true.
I don't know.
Well, they obviously have feet.
They obviously have feet.
If they're so into their shoes.
Maybe that's the sad part about being a leprechaun. They don't have feet.
Maybe
they
that's
love,
why they're into shoes.
They love shoes, but they can't put them on their end. This is so sad.
That's why they make so much money.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
They love shoes. They can't wear them.
It's like not using whatever you're selling. Like,
yeah.
That's an advantage because you're not buying any of it. I get it. Okay. Maybe. I don't know.
So,
all right.
I'm going
to... How many facts are we at?
This is number 12. I'm going to rapid fire some here.
Okay, here we go.
Some accounts say leprechauns can live underwater. Okay. Cool.
That's not useful at all.
Nope. Leprechauns might have a divine heritage. That's weird as a fact, but okay. Some sources say leprechauns are derivatives of the Irish deity Lug, god of the sun and arts and crafts.
Well, of course, they're connected to fairies. Fairies,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't even know that.
But after the rise of Christianity, Luke's importance was diminished, and he was demoted to a shoemaking folklore character known as Luke Cromain. Lug? I don't know. You can pretend to be a leprechaun for a good cause.
What?
In March, there are marathons all over the country that encourage the participants to dress like leprechauns. The festive money runners help to raise money for charity while getting in the St. Patty's Day spirit.
That's not leprechauns. That's just green and Irish.
You can make. This is what we're ending on here.
Okay.
This is 15.
This is 15. This
The penultimate.
Do they big? Do they build, or is this going to be a letdown? Here?
It's going to be an extreme letdown.
All right, here we go.
You,
Okay,
sir,
I can.
you can make your own leprechaun trap.
Oh, okay.
Making a leprechaun trap is a great activity to share with your children this St. Patrick's Day. All you need to get started is something shiny to lure the little men. The traps can be simple as a shoebox or as elaborate as your family can imagine.
Ooh, okay.
Although no one has caught anything yet that we know of.
That's true. If you look away, they're gone. So
Right.
how would you know?
It doesn't hurt to try.
How are you going to catch them? You got to have like eyes on them all the time. Isn't that was one of the facts, man?
Yeah,
You got to have eyes. So the trap isn't going to do anything.
yeah,
They're just going to wander away.
right.
But whatever. Okay.
So,
Well, now we got ring bells. So you could put like a camera in a box, and
catch a leprechaun.
then you're staring at it.
What if leprechauns don't? What if they're not captured by video cameras?
That
Those
wasn't
are
one of the
magical.
facts, was it? It wasn't one of the facts.
Okay, what do you know? Last, we'll finish up on a good old St. Patrick's Day quiz.
All right. So,
What do you know about St. Patrick?
any real facts about St. Patrick's?
Any real facts?
Have long since left my brain. I do not retain those kinds of things. I was terrible at history because of this. I do not remember names or numbers very well. Well, dates.
Okay, here we'll take a quiz.
Okay. St. Patty's Day quiz.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to this, so we're going to be taking it together.
All right, here we go.
What is said to have been St. Patrick's real name? Is it Maewyn Succat? Paddy O'Leary? No. But maybe. Patrick Walsh? Or Sean Fitzpatrick?
Huh. I'm going Patrick Waltz.
Patrick Walsh.
Walsh.
I'm actually going to say it was Maewyn Succat, but I'll click on Patrick Walsh. Let's see what it says. False. The correct answer is Maewyn Succat.
Oh, you
Yeah.
man. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it doesn't, I'll share the history of St. Patrick. It's pretty interesting. On what day do millions of people, this feels like a trick question, but here we go. On what day do millions of people around the world celebrate St. Patrick? March 17th, May 1st, August 17th, or December 25th?
Wow, they made that really hard. If they would have had 2 dates in March, I would have been really
What's your
up a creek. But
final answer?
I'm going March 17th.
I agree. Oh, correct. This is not a real hard. Other than the first question, this has not been real hard.
Yeah.
What symbol is often associated with Ireland's patron saint? Is it a bodhrán? Oh, never mind. Oh well, yeah, no, it might be a bodhrán, a castle, a claddagh ring, or a shamrock.
Shamrock.
Shamrock. I agree. Yes, correct.
Yay.
Where does the home of St. Patrick Festival take place? Belfast, Cork City, Donegal Town, or Armagh and Down?
Okay.
Belfast, Cork City, Donegaltown, or Armagh and Down?
I want to say one of the last two.
Okay. Armagh and Down?
Sure. Yeah.
Correct. Wow, that was a big guess there. Over the space of
Did
10
you guess
days.
too, or did you know?
I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Over the space of 10 days, the festival in Armagh and Down celebrates the achievements of the patron saint through walks, talks, plays, music, dance, and song.
All right.
Where?
Like any other festival in the world.
Yes.
Okay.
Where in the world was St. Patrick's Day first celebrated? St. Augustine, Florida, Dublin, Ireland, Glasgow, Scotland, or Liverpool, England?
Ireland.
All right, let's give it a go. That is
No?
incorrect. It was the first St. Patrick's Day is said to have taken place in St. Augustine, Florida, in 1601.
What?
Interestingly, the first parade in Ireland didn't occur until 1903 in the county Watford.
Okay.
All right, Ireland, I see you. We all know the color. You spelled color wrong, but you're European. I'll give you that. We all know.
Wait. So, okay, keep going. No,
Did
never
you-
mind. I'm baffled by the Florida started the whole St. Patrick's Day thing, but okay, go.
Well, I mean, you have to remember that St. Patrick is a Catholic saint.
Sure.
So, he was probably, that was a religious celebration in Florida, apparently, by some Catholic priest.
Yeah, somebody just started it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We all know the color green. They spelled color with an U, which is not correct, but they're European.
Unless you're across the ocean.
We'll give it to him. Is synonymous with St. Patrick's Day, but what other color has been associated with the saint? Red, blue, pink, yellow.
Huh.
Yellow?
You want to go yellow?
I don't
Sure.
know. Hmm.
I was thinking red, but I
Well,
don't know why.
okay.
Only because leprechauns are red too.
Okay, well, we'll go with red. Oh, that is not correct.
It's yellow.
No, blue.
Blue.
Before green became the color of choice, blue was associated with St. Patrick. The significance of the blue dates back to the early Irish mythology, and the earliest description of the patron saint show him wearing St. Patrick's blue as it became known.
Oh. Okay.
I know the answer to this one. You probably do too. According to legend, what did St. Patrick banish from Ireland? Snakes, the sport of hurling, tin whistles, or whiskey?
Oh, I think it's whiskey, right? No?
No.
Snakes?
Yeah.
I
think,
knew
I don't
that.
know.
I think I knew that too.
Yeah. Snakes. Yep. Correct.
Now that I said that, I think that's right.
The fable goes that St. Patrick banished all snakes from the island of Ireland to the
Right.
sea after they began attacking him during a 40-day fast.
Yeah. I think I remember hearing that story now.
Where are the remains of St. Patrick said to be located? Cavan Cathedral, Christ Church Cathedral, Dublin, Down Cathedral in Downpatrick, or St. Anne's Cathedral in Belfast?
Huh.
Cavan, Christ Church, Down Cathedral, St. Anne's. What's your gut say?
I don't. Cabin.
Cavan, all right. No. Down Cathedral and is the reputed burial place of St. Patrick, who is thought to have died in 461. Magnificent stained glass windows, box pews, and a beautiful green organ case give him stunning building a sense of opulence.
St. Patrick was 461? 461?
In 461. Like, that's when he was dead. When he died.
That's when he died?
Yeah.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was not asked, but you know the legend, or like, so for one of the books I read in seminary,
I do not. I'm sure I have heard St. Patrick's story, but
Yeah.
I have not retained it at all.
So the legend, or like the idea behind St. Patrick is that he was a slave who had he was I think Roman. Roman or Britain, because Rome had
Well, if I knew that, I would have guessed the other name, because he would have been Irish.
No, no.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, keep
So
going.
he was captured in a raid on the coast of Britain and taken back to the island of Ireland, where as a slave, and he escaped. And after escaping, he went back as a missionary and brought Christianity to the Irish.
Okay.
Uh,
That, I mean, that's, he brought Christianity to the Irish is probably what I remember.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember anything else. That's the legend?
I mean, that's what he's known for. Like
Right.
that's the legend.
Does modern Ireland, like if you were to talk to an Irish person, would they say, yeah, that's how Christianity got to our island?
Um,
Or would they say something like, no, that's just kind of how Catholicism got to our island? I bet you can find both.
it does say that he. So yeah, AI says so. That he was a real person who lived in the 5th century. Um, he was born in Roman Britain. At age 16, he was kidnapped, sold as a slave. He worked as a shepherd for 6 years. He escaped back to Britain. He studied to become a priest and was ordained by Saint Germanus. He returned to Ireland as a missionary. He preached for 40 years, converted Ireland, and worked many miracles.
Many miracles.
He is the primary patron saint of Ireland. He is venerated in the Catholic Church, the Lutheran Church, the Church of Ireland, the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Do you think the Catholic, is there any priests that are like in the running for sainthood? Like currently?
Yeah. Yeah. Like Mother Teresa was?
Oh, was she?
I think she's a saint now.
Is she a saint?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Because one of the requirements is that they have a miracle.
two confirmed miracles.
2 confirmed miracles?
Mhm.
Never seen a miracle in my life. I want to know. I want to talk to these people.
I don't want to misquote that.
Do they?
So let me look it up. But I do believe it's 2 confirmed.
I guess I should say this. That, like they're Catholics. They have a super defined what a miracle is and isn't.
In the Catholic Church, a miracle that qualifies for sainthood is an event considered to be beyond the realm of natural explanation. Usually a spontaneous and lasting healing from a serious medical condition that cannot be accounted for by current scientific knowledge, and is attributed to the intercession of the person being considered for sainthood. Typically, 2 verified miracles are required for full canonization as a saint.
Okay.
But I mean, if you're using that as a description, I mean, all you'd have to do, even today's world, is like say someone has cancer, and then you're like, hey, Mother Teresa, can you pray for this person? And you pray, and then they go to the doctor, and they're like, we can't find the cancer, which has happened to people that I know, like,
sure,
or that anecdotally, like, and so if that is a unexplainable, like,
their healing process is defined by
right.
the doctor as something that's unexplainable, etc.
Right. So,
okay, I guess.
I mean, that could fit into.
And I say that super disappointingly, but I that's encouraging. Those moments are encouraging.
Yeah.
And you are. I just. I guess I've grown up. I don't. Maybe my mentality, maybe my personality. I don't know what it is. My brain wants more solid miracles. Wants more, like, in order to genuinely call it a miracle. You know, like somebody's cancer leaving, or I mean. So when my daughter was an infant, she couldn't hear. we had tests done, and it was confirmed she could not hear anything. And then we had those tests done again, and she could. Is that a miracle, or is that just her body doing her body thing? You know, like, and we can contribute it both ways. I don't know. I actually, you'd have to ask her if she contributes it to a miracle or not.
Well,
But I think I don't know if I care. Number one, because I know our God can do whatever He feels like doing.
right.
So it just, I don't know if that counts as a miracle, because I don't keep track of that stuff like that. Like for this reason, if I read through the Gospels and I look at what the miracles that Jesus was doing,
Yeah.
or the apostles, or even you read through the Old Testament and you see all the crazy things that happen,
Right.
they all happen for a purpose of helping people understand that God is there.
Right.
Right? David beats Goliath not because he's good at throwing stones, not because he was anointed king, but he beats Goliath because he understands that Goliath is ridiculing the God of the universe.
Right.
And so God beat Goliath. And David understood that. So, I don't know. I guess I just don't. The miracle thing is hard for me. That's what I'm trying to say.
So two things. One, I think it's important to remember. For me, it's important to remember that we think often that miracles would come with great moments of belief. But if you look in the Old Testament, particularly, there are good examples where God does a miracle and it doesn't actually change people's minds. For example, Elijah is like, hey, who are you guys going to worship? You're going to worship God? You're going to worship Baal? And let's have a contest. And Elijah beats all the prophets of Baal, and then they kill them all. But the next day, Elijah gets so depressed because the next day, the king and the queen are both like, yeah, Elijah, we're going to kill you now. And he's like, nothing changed. I'm the only one left. Like, no one else, even though people heard the speech, it didn't create a full cell change. And then even Jesus would say that, there's a time when the Pharisees come and they're like, do this miracle or do this, and he's like, you unbelieving generation, how many miracles do you need to see? And I think there's this idea that it is miracles would cause people to believe, but it just doesn't do that. People don't do that because they immediately start to rationalize it away. And I think even more so today.
Sure.
So
I think that's maybe where I disagree. I think I guess I agree from the outside looking at a miracle, I agree. But I think God, even in the instance of Elijah, he proved to Elijah that he was bigger than any other gods, right?
Sure.
I mean, Elijah knew it,
but that was
and he acted in faith.
But it was I guess what I'm saying is we often think miracles would be a group changing thing. The whole world would change if we just had more miracles.
Sure, and
I don't think that's true. That's more.
I agree.
100%. It does mean something to Elijah. 100%. It does mean the blind man that gets sight, and Jesus gives him the sight, and the people are like, who gave you sight? What do you believe about this man? And he's like, I don't know. I was blind and now I can see. What else? I don't know what else I need to know. But
right.
Even that testimony, the Pharisees are like, get out of here. You can't stay with us.
Right.
So So I think the grandness of miracles sometimes, I guess, is what I'd say is where we think that it would change mass amounts of people, but it just doesn't. But it does change individuals. But I also think that, and I'll say this for myself, and I won't put this on you because you have your own thoughts. But like it's harder for me to see miracles because I am not as open to them, because I am like, well, medicine did that, or if I need money, like it's like we've talked about like the George Mueller story, where it's like he doesn't tell anybody he needs food, so he just goes and like closes his door and prays, and food shows up.
Right.
Like,
Right.
like I don't know if I can live in that world. Like I don't know that I can do like he works for him, it works for him, but I'm not there. Like I'm not.
Sure.
I don't have that. So I think it's because I'm not as open to that, because I have so much of a rational understanding of my faith.
Okay. I'll describe it a little different.
Okay.
I'll think, because I see miracles as changing people's hearts so intimately, like the bleeding woman is one of my favorite miracles.
Sure.
The crowd didn't change. The disciples didn't change. They were like, "What do you mean? Who touched you? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Most of the people in that crowd had no idea what even happened. Right.
Right.
And so I think maybe that's why it's hard for me to see miracles, because I believe that it's so individual that even the stories of people healing really fast, or their cancer being gone, or whatever, ailments not being ailments anymore. I think I can. I think I understand that because of my distance from all of that stuff. Because none of that. I mean, my daughter's hearing as an infant. That's as close as I get. But even then, I'm going to celebrate that she can hear. Was it a miracle? I don't know, because I wasn't really involved. Like, I was working at a camp at that point, so my wife was the one that was taking her to the doctor, and my wife was the one that was kind of dealing with the whole thing. I was just kind of in the background going, "Oh, bummer, she can't hear? That's weird. Like, that's a bummer, we'll figure that out."
Yeah.
And then, "Oh, look, we don't need to figure it out. Okay." And I could celebrate that, but I don't know, I wasn't close enough to call it a miracle, like, and there you also have, like, your body and your, like, the amazingness of our infant bodies and our young bodies as kids to grow out of things and develop through things, and like how, I mean, the more I know doctors and talk to doctors, the more it's like, man, just how God has designed our bodies and to grow and develop is crazy and weird, and there's not a set formula. So I don't know. That's why I say I agree with you. I mean, it's hard for me to claim I've seen miracles, because in order for me to know and to agree, I would have to know heart change. Like, I would have to talk heart change.
Do you feel, and just a personal, obviously I'm not judging you outwardly or by saying I am, but inwardly, yes, but
all right. Yeah, judge away, buddy.
No, I mean, but do you feel then, like, because I don't know that, so I'm not saying you're wrong,
Okay.
but I'm also not invalidating this question. So do you feel like some people claim miracles too, I don't want to say flippant, but like too easily?
Sure.
Like, do you think?
I'll say that without. Yeah, sure. Because I've heard people claim things like childbirth is a miracle. Childbirth is not a miracle. It's a natural process that just happens. And even the connection that a parent has to their sibling or their child is not a miracle. That is how God has designed humanity to be. However, it's one of the deepest, precious gifts that we can have. You know, like, so I understand why people call it a miracle. But the Holy Spirit stepping into your life and protecting you from a sin or a temptation, is that a miracle? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's a valid. I mean, again, I think it's a valid question. I think that,
and
but I think there's also part of us though that we are geared towards not believing in. Well, I'll say it for myself. I can't put you in the same box, but I'm geared towards having a less spiritual understanding of things, having less supernatural understanding of things, because everything is kind of explainable, and I think I leave less room for the spiritual than I should because of the way I was. I mean, my church background, how I operate. Like, there are certain traditions that I'm just not as comfortable with. But I don't think they're wrong necessarily.
Sure.
But it's just not who I am. I mean, like speaking in tongues.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not my faith tradition or growing up. I do think that it's in the Bible. I do think that Paul talks about it, and I do think there's if done correctly, it can be a part of genuine worship. But it's just not something that I'm super comfortable with, especially if it's not done correctly. You know, if it's there's not interpretation, if there's not. And even if there is, there's just been so much church history of people going like, I totally faked that. Like I faked people out by trying to speak in tongues, and so I'm less open to that because I am much more been raised in a faith of like, know the word. This is what the word says. This is what this is how that interacts with. So like less. I mean. I don't think I was like 21. I think I was 21 or 22, and then I heard somebody talk about walking by the Spirit like for the first time, as a sermon or a Bible study, and I was like, that's different. That's
sure. Yeah.
Where's that been? And I still don't know, that I do that very well, but so I just naturally pull away from miraculous things because it's like, oh no, there's an explanation, or there's a. And I don't want to be. I also don't want to be frivolous with being like, oh, every good thing that I want to happen for me happens. That's a miracle. So like when you say like childbirth or just anything that's good, like, oh, I found $20 in my jeans pocket yesterday. I didn't know it was there. It's a miracle, Not that a ton of people really proclaim that, but some people would. I mean, some people would be like, miracle. Wasn't there, God put it there.
Right.
And you're like, no, you had 20, you left it, somebody, you picked it, that's not, I mean, like, it's not in my scope to even really think about that as a miracle.
And I think that's what gets hard about talking on a podcast about miracles.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to degrade anybody's perspective of life.
Yeah.
If you feel like walking into your work and you got the right day off,
yeah,
is a miracle.
Right.
Then by all means claim it as a miracle.
Right.
As long as you're pointing it to Christ. As long as you're saying, do you see how sovereign my God is?
Yeah.
He gave me the right day off.
Well, both of us have read, I think, you've read pray like monks, live like fools.
Yeah.
And Tyler, and that talks about the prayer of like his mother-in-law. She's praying for a spot so they can park close to return these Christmas gifts or get Christmas gifts or whatever in the mall,
Yeah.
And he's like, is that is that real prayer? Is that prayer that's honoring to God? Like, I'm praying for this parking spot so I'm not as inconvenienced, and then there's people, and then you get it and you're like, oh, God answered my prayer, he opened up that parking spot. And then across the world there's people dying of hunger, and that it's like God's busy getting you a parking spot, but he's so busy he can't help. Like there's a little bit, to me, like there's a similar kind of conversation in there that, and where he lands. If you haven't read the book, you should buy it and read it. It's really good.
I got a copy. I'll give it to you. It's really good.
I listened to it on Spotify. I do not have a copy, but I should buy a copy.
I did listen to it, and then I was like, this would be really
I might have
good
bought
book
it.
to read.
I have a tendency to do that. I might have a copy of it
And
too.
then I read it.
But, sorry, I derailed. You should read it. If you haven't read it, that's 100%.
Okay, this is why I would buy a hard copy. Because he says such great things that it's way better reading it.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be moments that you're going to want to pause and think about if it's an audiobook, and you don't do that with an audiobook.
Or reread what he says.
Yeah.
You're going to want to go back and reread it.
Yeah, and with a book, you can pause and think about it and read it again and be like, oh, that was so good.
But I think in the similar vein...
Keep going.
Similar vein, he's talking about this kind of like, how do we combine those two things? Like this almost innocuous, like, who cares if you get a closer parking spot? Like, is Jesus really just like on the edge of his seat waiting for you to ask for that parking spot? So he's like, bam, got it.
And this is where I think this is where I love how big our God is.
Yeah.
Because absolutely.
Yeah.
He is absolute. If you are that suburban mom who is extremely busy and running around, and your life is, your world is 100% your suburban soccer mom kind of deal, he wants to be a part of your life.
Sure.
And if you're going to take moments, and it's not a selfish moment of, Lord, give me a good parking spot. It's a genuine, Lord, I'm looking for a good, if you give me a good parking spot, that would be awesome.
Sure.
He wants to be. And guess what? Our God isn't small, so you're not taking away anything from the people on the other side of the world that are starving. Like, God is still moving.
Yeah, but I think the argument, for the argument's sake, and the one that Tyler was making, is that there is something to be said that God, if God answers that prayer, why not? And then there's no answer to this. So I'm this, but I do get the tension of, like, if God answers that prayer, why not the other prayer that would seem to be much more important to answer? Because he is big, he can answer that prayer. Why this one that seems so small? And I'm with you on that side.
Yeah,
I'm not trying
absolutely.
to make it small. Like,
Yeah.
I think God is in the small moments. Like, I think he's in the small things. Like, he is in the little things, in the small moments, and those little things that, like the winks. God winks, I sometimes call it, where God's like, "Hey, I did that." Like, did you see that? Like, just a little. Doesn't even have to be like super huge, but you're like, he's like, "Did you get it?
Yeah.
Did you see what I did there?"
Yeah.
But I get the tension too of like, but yeah, there's these really big things that people are praying about, and even some really important things, like, in my own personal life and in yours as well. Like, we have people that are physically hurting and sick, and I would cut off my own arm if I knew that would take away the hurt that my wife is going through.
Right.
And I pray these things, and so the tension becomes, oh great, you're good enough to get me and I don't want to sound bitter, so I'm going to try not to sound bitter in this, but you're good enough to get me a close parking spot, but my wife's still in pain.
Sure.
And I think there's a tension there, and that's where I feel like, that's when I get back to the miracle question, like, is because is it a miracle, or is it just something you're claiming as a miracle? Like, do you see it as, just as you see it as a miracle, does it make it a miracle?
Right.
And I think that's the hard tension that I feel like you struggle with, and we're trying to work through, is like, it seems like childbirth is both miraculous and not, right? Like,
sure.
Like,
well, and I think what we're wrestling through is that idea of perspective versus what reality is.
Right.
And I think in this conversation we're in a gray area where I don't know how important it is to define.
Sure.
And so I think there's certain veins of Christianity that really, really uphold truth and being right and knowing the right answer. And then there's veins of Christianity that would be okay with understanding that everything is spiritual. And so even those little moments are potential for life-changing God moments.
Yeah.
And so that's I guess it. So what I'm trying to say is I think there's one aspect where I personally have opinions and could define maybe how I view it, but at the same time I don't want anybody's perspective on how they view those things to be tainted by by either one way or another. Like, I don't, if you're solid on knowing that who God is, and he's defined himself in the Bible, and he doesn't work through chaos, and everything is ordered, and it's then in order for me to shake that, I will have to get to know you. I can't talk about it on a podcast. And I think that's one of the problems we have with a lot of the bigger conversations that are going on in our society is you can take a podcast clip and then there it is. You know, like, well, that's my thoughts. Which, everything is, like we said earlier, everything is more nuanced than that.
Right.
There's not a simple, and so I think I agree with you, it's hard. And I agree that if I'm praying for so I don't relate to the parking spot because I don't care about parking spots. But if I'm praying that my truck just makes it home, because it's doing weird things, it's starting to do weird things, and so it's an '88. It's got over 200,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
It's getting there. If I'm praying that my truck makes it home, I'm pretty sure my truck is going to make it home. Otherwise, I wouldn't have drove it. Right.
Right.
There's a small chance that, and it's getting higher and higher every day, I guess, but there's a small chance that it doesn't work eventually. I would 100% give that prayer up if I knew that my wife could feel better.
Right.
Like, I don't want one in exchange for the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I would argue, especially so sitting in my grandma. This is story time by Jim apparently. So sitting in my on Sunday afternoon, we sat with my grandma, who's 94, 6 something, and was in her bed, and 87 pounds, and she's not. I mean, I guess she kind of got sick. I guess for the first time in a long time, and so I don't know, whatever. And she's nearing the end, is basically what it is.
Yeah.
And she couldn't talk. She was just kind of making noises, and she was uncomfortable, and you could tell that there was fear or nerves or just she's wanted to go home to heaven for a long time. She knows Jesus. Yeah. She's just wanted to go home. And so why is God keeping her around?
Right.
If that's her life
right
now, what does it mean for her to finish well?
Yeah.
And I can't help but think that God is doing something in her head.
Sure.
Deep in her heart, deep in her head, like she can't communicate it. She can kind of communicate with the people that are around her that know what language she's speaking now. I mean, like, sure. Not that she's speaking a different language, but like,
you know how to like, communicate without communicating.
Yeah, they know what the moans mean. They know what the actions mean. They know what all that stuff means.
Yeah.
They're around her all the time.
Right.
So, but the question to my uncle, who's always around, and my parents and all of my aunts and uncles are, why is this? Why is she still around?
Yeah.
And what are they supposed to do? Like, when she's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, what are they supposed to be doing? And so I think it just emphasizes to me that this life here on earth is 100% about faith and making faith steps forward. And whether or not you need to see miracles, and those little things be miracles, and that encourages you, and that keeps your faith moving forward, or whether seeing the world through eyes that are focused on truth and things that are solid, if that's how you view the world, then I see value in both. I think my struggle is it's probably similar to yours, of why can't I just let God do what he's doing? Why do I have to know what God is doing? You know, like, why can't I just be okay with letting God do whatever he's doing?
Yeah.
As opposed to, yeah, but God, I've got 3 more steps. You got to tell me the 3 more steps.
Yeah.
And never in my life has he told me the 3 more steps. And yet I still want to know what are the 3 more steps.
Yeah, I think we got to go. I mean, we got to wrap up things.
There you go. Super speech by Jim. There you go.
I think I would say it this way, and maybe I'll let you have the last word because I don't want to speak for you in this.
Oh, yeah, because I need the last word. I gave a 20-minute sermon.
Well, one of the things that I think we're pretty open about, I think we have been on this podcast, and I have certainly on the podcast in general, if you listen to all my other jabberings before we got to this format and settled in that, is that I can be a doubter. And I have doubts and have serious seasons of doubt. And I think what I would say is I don't want my doubt to ever rain on anybody's belief parade. You know, like that needing to know God. How, like, no, I need to know, like, what actually are you doing, or what like I want, and so that for me is where like I think I go so much the opposite direction of like some of the early late '90s big Christian movements, which was like, I know the truth, here it is, there's no doubt, and I went the opposite direction of being like, I don't know how you can be so certain, like, but I wouldn't want my uncertainty and my own neurotic brain to affect anybody else's faith. So like, in the same way that Paul was like, I wouldn't eat meat if eating meat for the rest of my life would keep people from doubting God, I just won't eat meat. And I think Paul is not just being like overly bombastic and like making a straight, like he's like, no, and so I wouldn't want, and so that's where I think that's where that to me that like the question about miracles and prayers and how things work, like I'm okay with having those conversations with people who also have doubts or who have questions. I'm okay with people who don't have doubts and having those conversations, as long as they understand that I'm in no way nullifying their the way that they are experiencing faith, but like it is, it still remains a struggle. Like so that's why I think you and I probably land in a more of a big tent kind of area of like, I think there are more people out there that follow Jesus in their own way, and not saying everybody's going to heaven, but that much more broad than a lot of conservative Christians would put the onus on whether or not you're a follower or not. I believe that God's working on a lot of places that we previously have questioned whether he could even do that, including the Catholic Church. Since we've been talking about that tonight.
That's true. We have been talking about the Catholic Church.
You know,
anyway, keep going.
And so but I also want to make it okay for people, if they have doubts, to be like, yeah, you can have doubt and faith and you can still follow Jesus. And but I wouldn't ever want, like, I like questions, I like talking about the questions, but I wouldn't ever push questions upon somebody who didn't, like, that actually would lead them further away from Jesus. Like that's where like when we go, is this a miracle? So like if you came to me and you're like, it's a miracle that my daughter could hear, I'd rejoice with you. Yeah. Do I believe it's a miracle? Like you said, I don't know. Like,
right.
Is it a miracle that our bodies are made to grow and grow out of that? Is it a miracle that there's some kind of medicine that fixed it? Is it a miracle that it just happened? Maybe yes to all. Like, and if your faith is really built and they have that personal connection with that, then I would at all costs want to avoid any kind of like decay to that. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, you can't rest your relationship just on miracles, but there certainly are miracles that that renewed, restored, that strengthened trust in Jesus. And so that's where I would get into, like, you and I having the conversation. I don't think either one of us are at risk of driving each other away, but that's why it's just so hard, because is it a miracle that the parking lot like that parking spot close comes open? Is it just a coincidence?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
But if it makes you feel loved by God, to think that he was like, yeah, I'm thinking of you, and I put that person was moved at just the right time because you could have that spot.
Right.
Then praise God. I'm glad that you have that like intimate moment where you were like, yeah, God saw me. And I wouldn't ever want to drive that out of somebody's mind to think that that couldn't happen.
Right.
And so that's where I'd pull back on, like, and not even push back, but that's where, like, for me, it's harder to settle in on, like, me going, yep, that's a miracle, yep, I saw it. Like you were talking, like, for me to be like, yeah, Confirmed.
Yeah, I don't.
But I wouldn't ever want to
Yeah,
push.
so just to know, if you're
better.
ever in the car going to lunch with Paul and I, we are never gonna. We're never even gonna think about praying for a parking spot.
We'll park the furthest away that we can.
If you're praying for a parking spot behind us, just pray that we actually park anywhere close to where we're trying to go. Because both Paul and I will find the 3 open spaces and be like, that's the one. That's the one in the middle. That's where I'm going. The furthest one out there.
That's true. That's true.
Because I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So, that's what I would like. I think it's a valid thing. It's a hard thing, but it is a valid walk with, like, miracles are ways that we see. I think you could, in some ways, just say it's when I can see God real in this life.
Yeah, and they're meant to grow our faith.
Yeah.
They're not a salvation thing.
Right.
All through the Gospels, we have no idea if those miracles produced eternal.
They seem to rarely change people on the outside looking in's mind.
Well, even the bleeding woman. We don't ever hear from her again. You know, like all the blind men, Legion, the story of Legion.
Yeah,
we don't know what happened to that demon possessed guy. He was better.
Right.
Jairus' daughter.
Yeah.
We don't get the end of those stories.
Right.
However, they're there to build faith.
Yep.
And so they're there to encourage your faith. So once again, it's hard on a podcast to talk miracles because do I want to see them? Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Do I know that our God can produce them? Yeah, absolutely. Am I too educated to put my thumb on, like, that's a miracle and that's not a miracle? I don't know. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I have too many. I don't know. Maybe the education system tainted me. Because I gotta know, you know.
If you're too educated, I'm about to have one more degree than you, then I'm definitely overeducated.
Right. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's... Academia is one of those realms that likes to be right, or needs to be right.
I also think it's like, do I think... And this is where it gets back to, like, fairies, right? And so I'll bring us back.
Oh, coming back to the leprechauns.
Do I think I understand the world enough to know that I don't believe in fairies? Because a little of that also then means that I don't leave room for miracles. Or I have to be conscious in my effort to leave room for miracles.
Sure.
Because I think that I'm like, no, this is how the world works. There aren't little fairies that, like, if your car were to break down tomorrow, it's not because some fairy was like, well, you didn't leave me some milk, so I'm going to... It's because mechanical things wear and tear. And it's also not because God or a spirit or something, you know, probably touched some part on your vehicle. Yeah. Like,
it could be, though. It could be.
But I have to... But that's what I'm saying. Like, my mind frame says it's not, right? Because I just understand that metal things wear against metal things and old things break. And but the timing, like, that's when you start to go, okay, there's some room here to think about miracles, but it does take conscious effort. And I don't know that I have the discipline developed yet to really say that I do a good job of that.
Sure.
Which is why that was the question, is like, would you believe, you know, would you find it hard to believe in fairies, do you think, if you lived, like, in the Middle Ages? Because... And
I think that's the core of what I was trying to say, like, I think there's people, even back then, that would be like, yeah, whatever, fairies, sure. Like... And they just agree because it's one of those things, like, I don't know if I believe that because I can't see them. I think life just happens sometimes. because they would have that degree too. They would understand that, and that's how I've gone through life a lot of times of like,
Yeah, but I think it's
is that a movement of God or is that just
Yeah.
life happening? Like,
right.
and so
Yeah.
I
I think it would
That's-
be reversed though. I think there would be more people because I think the crowd believed in the fairies, and so it would be the like now we have the people that are like Bigfoot is real, and we're like okay, person that's out there, cool, and the rest, most of the crowd's like yeah, that's not a thing, like, and I think it would have been reversed. I don't know.
not, well, I guess that's
Because the same thing. I mean, I think it's
maybe I'd agree with you.
because
Maybe
it's,
I'd agree with you because it seems to be the culture as a whole seems to be pretty ignorant
yeah,
and so follows whatever. I mean,
right.
pick look at politics
Let's
and
not.
how influential that is. I mean,
Yeah. And then
who's ever the president, you're either going to love him or hate him. And
in a day and age where you have access to almost an infinite amount of data,
mhm,
most people simply believe whatever somebody says.
yeah.
So
You know what I heard? I heard that if you hear something,
it's got to be true.
if somebody done told you and you hear that thing 3 times,
Yeah.
it's got to be true. Because somebody told me that once.
I
That
mean,
That once you hear something 3 times, your brain makes it hear true or something.
all right, we. I can't end on that.
So somebody told me once. I've heard. They said.
Yep.
They said that if you hear something 3 times, it makes it true in your brain.
It is. I mean, it's overwhelming to have to research everything and to try to be an expert at everything, and so I think people just don't.
Mhm.
And I'm even overwhelmed by that. I don't want to. That's part of why I'm taking a break from social media, is because everything I read makes me want to go look it up and be like, is that really? Because people are so.
Hmm.
They so take it to one side or the other, and it's like actually there's truth, but it's in the middle and it's closer to this. But you have to take like the time to do all that. I'm like, I just don't have the time, and so then your choice is just to be like, that's outrageous. I'm outraged by that. I'm moving on because I don't have the time to research and understand exactly what's being said, or even go back to the clip to hear word for word what that person actually said, and not just what. And I think that. Like that is we are just being drowned. We're drowning in so much information now that we'd rather not have to think about it. I'm drowning in so much information.
I agree.
That and
So,
anything.
would you rather?
Okay. Drown in information,
Would you,
or be eaten,
Would you
or be
rather?
eaten by a shark that eats books.
Oh. Eats books. Words. Books?
Was it words?
It was words. It was words and letters and stuff. It was weird. That was
That's a call.
And
That's
then
a
when you
throwback.
turn
Sorry.
the page and there's a shark head looking at you in words. It's
Swimming
weird.
through the words.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Would you rather
Okay, would you rather?
have to eat every meal on a treadmill for the rest of your life?
Okay.
Every meal
Okay.
on a
No.
treadmill,
Yeah.
or sleep in a waterbed the rest of your life?
Um. I don't want to eat on a treadmill,
Okay.
so I'm choosing the waterbed.
You're also condemning your wife to sleep in this waterbed too.
Hey, it's every man for themselves in the water. Like you just,
Okay. All right.
just gotta survive.
Just got to do it.
Wait,
Alright.
is the treadmill going or is the treadmill stopped? Because if it's
It has to go.
Okay,
The
while
speed
you
is
eat.
up to you.
while you eat.
Yeah, while you eat. Kind of way to be a junior hire. Thank you for that question. I'll eat on the treadmill because it's stopped. Oh, okay. Well, that's
Just-
not the spirit behind the.
It just
would
means
you
I have
rather.
to stand and eat. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. I could even sit down and just whatever. It's fine. At my
If the
table.
treadmill's going slow enough, I could probably lay on it and it just goes underneath me. I could just eat as I'm on the treadmill. Ooh.
Just lay down on a skateboard. I don't care.
Bungee-
Crank her up. I don't care. Whatever.
Bungee myself into the just rolling.
All right.
All right, I think that's where we got to end because this is
Now we're getting.
2 hours and 29 minutes.
Oh wow, we really did the long one. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well,
That's why I threw a would you rather out there.
there you go.
We-
That's a good place to
We
end.
gotta end somehow.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Join us next month when we have another super long podcast. Jim and I talking about things in April. I know that's a long time to wait for all you fans out there, but that's about all the time we're committing to it.
How
So-
are we gonna build this podcast if we're only once a month?
I know. Yet last month we had 11 people. So
oh, way
thanks-
to go, 11 of
thanks
you.
11 people. Tell a friend, and we could have 22.
Hey, wow.
Woo! That would be amazing. Jim, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Paul.
I'm glad you made it safe from your
Yeah,
mission
yeah.
trip, and we'll gather again in April.
Yeah. Good luck in school, sir.
Whew, I'll be closer to graduating
One
next
last
time.
class? Two last classes?
Two last courses,
Two last classes. All right.
and then we'll take a break because May and June and July get super busy for you, and we'll
That's
probably
true,
take a
I
break.
don't-
But maybe we'll figure out how to make it work. Who could know?
Maybe I'll need this. Maybe by then this will be such a like
This will be
staple
the
of my
debrief.
life that I'll just be like.
You gotta have it.
Okay,
You start
go.
itching.
I gotta go talk
Like-
to Paul about something
I gotta-
not camp.
I just gotta. You're like
Yeah,
jerking and itching because like you need
Maybe
it.
we'll have. Maybe you'll come out to camp and we'll do a
Let's do
staff one or
Oh,
something.
let's do it.
Like we'll
All
interview
right.
the staff or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I'll be at camp, so
we could do like a Richwoods
we'll do
one.
Richwoods live at Great Oaks.
Oh wow, that'd be crazy.
Our
Okay,
worlds,
well the ideas are forming.
our worlds will collide. All right. Well, thanks you guys. Thanks for listening. Have a great month. See you next month.